Heaven Can Wait, 1978. This is a film about an American footballer who gets taken into the afterlife interim stage. Not quite heaven at this point, um, but on the way there. And he cannot return to his beloved life as a footballer. He was a promising member of the team, and they're expecting to get into the Super Bowl, but it it didn't work out because he was involved in a crash in a tunnel by a speeding, overtaking van or something. And what it was he was really fit. He probably would have managed to survive, but an over eager guardian angel took him up and into this pre-stage of heaven, and was about to put him on the aeroplane that takes him to heaven. And well, um, he protests, of course. And the thing is, it looked like, and one of the scenes I really loved was that because he protests so much about having been killed at, when he's in his 20s, um, they checked the date of death they had been given, or what he was assigned, or what should have happened, and it was 2025. And I thought, wow, yeah, 2025. I think it was can't remember the date, 20th of March, 10:17 a.m. So, um, this story is about being sent back to Earth because of this mistake. He isn't meant to have died. The angel is fluffed up, and the trouble is, when he goes back to Earth, they find he's being cremated. There's not much that can be done. He can't be put back into a body that's physically no longer there. And I think if people get to know, then he won't be, he won't be, if people, it's not admissible to return someone. The people on Earth, the living people, aren't meant to know how this works. And it is all sort of set up in clouds. It's like that imaginary pre-stage of heaven, how you'd imagine, I guess. Um, so they're going to have to find someone else that he can take over their life. And he's reluctant about that for obvious reasons. Now, I'll say who this film stars. It's Warren Beatty. I'm not really familiar with him. I've heard his name. And he's still around, and he plays Joe Pendleton, the main character. He gets different names because he's returned as different characters, but um, he's his soul is Joe Pendleton, and he's actually quite a lovely um, person, I would say. Really, really kind. But because of the protocols in the afterlife, um, he has to be returned into the life of another man who has died, and seems to be all based on gender. Not sure why it had to be like that, but of course, back in the 70s, it was more conforming, and of course, that's where we seem to be heading again now, really sadly. But I mean, that was actually one of the aspects of this film that I really appreciated. Um, the other protagonist, leading character is Betty Logan, played by Julie Christie, and she's still around. I think a lot of the people I see from this 1978 film are no longer with us. Uh, Jack Walden plays Max Corkle. Yeah, I think there's a few of them. A few of the people sadly are no longer with us, but this is 47 years after this film. Um, but wow, there's a lot I noticed about this film. So one thing I really liked was that when he's given a new place back on Earth, he's put into a different body, someone there who was dying. It's a millionaire who is being murdered. He hasn't yet been finished murdered. He's taken some poison and he's lying, dying on a bathroom floor. And we don't actually really see him, we just observe and hear. But this is one of the factors is that with him going back as this millionaire development, he still outwardly looks like Joe Pendleton, and is it Pendleton? Yeah, Pendleton. Um, not as the millionaire character he's taken on. Um, and he's he's involved in huge. I mean, being a millionaire in the 70s is probably like some billionaires nowadays. I mean, they've accumulated so much more money, the rich and wealthy have. Um, but yeah, he becomes Mr. Farnsworth. He's like really um, wealthy. He's creating these, I think, I can't remember, was it oil rigs, something like that, some sort of place, in a place called Paglesham in England. Um, and this place where this millionaire is still in Los Angeles County, I think at least. It's Southern California. But it doesn't look very deserty. It's somewhere that's looks very could be in Britain. I was thinking for a minute, oh, has he come to Britain? And especially since the butler's really posh, everyone seems really posh. But I guess really wealthy Americans take on a very strong semblance to upper class Brits. You know, there's a kind of stately home owners that we're aware of here, the dukes and duchesses and landed gentry. Um, now, um, he is reluctant. Joe is reluctant to take on this role, but he agrees when he meets the woman Betty Logan from the UK, from England, from Peglesham, who's flown all the way. She says 8,000 miles. It's not that. It's about 5,000 between the UK and California. Um, you know, especially the Great Circle, which I think is even 6,000 miles, although across the Atlantic is 6,000 and across the USA is about 3,000. But it's about 5,000 something. And um, she's flown specifically to complain to Mr. Farnsworth about how it's going to ruin their community. And she's collected petitions from 2,000 people effectively because their place is going to be ruined. And Joe Stroke, Mr. Farnsworth, is really taken by her, and it becomes a romance as well, a romantic drama, a romantic comedy in some ways. And I really liked it because I could see, between those 2 main characters, it felt fairly believable the way they talked about each other's eyes and the way they really seemed to go for it. Of course, it is cis and straight, but it's a lovely story, I thought. Um, Now, what has happened is that, Mr. Farnsworth is being or is it has his wife attempted to murder him, and her co-conspiracy conspirator is helping to rig this, and, that first attempt doesn't work, and when, his wife sees him, she screams just after he says he's not frightening. She walks into the room and screams, and, her partner in crime tries to stop her, being so upset and screaming, keeps, covering her mouth, which she later reveals she does not like, and, so she's standing up. I just thought, "Oh gosh, that was strong misogyny there," the way that he puts his hand over her mouth. Later on says, "Oh, I thought you liked that." It's like, "What?" Um, but, um, what happens is that, Betty and Mr. Farnsworth strike up a really good friendship. They like each other a lot, and, he's quite amenable to the ecology movement, as it's called, the environmental movement, as, the wife calls it ecology crap. I mean, that was used in 2010 by certain politicians. But, um, no, there's Max Corkle. He's like, I think he's a member of the, American football team that, who knew Joe when he was Joe. And, Mr. Farnsworth is very keen to see if he can still perform in the game, in American football, playing again, and he really impresses them. That's I just liked how that was done. It was like it shows a few throws. I mean, now there'll probably be a lot more CGI for films for showing sporting scenes, but this was all done with the 70s technology that was available, and yet they, I think, conveyed it very well. Oh my gosh, the state of the pitch, though. I mean, it looks red in places. I don't know what that was. Um, but the grass looked really rough. And having seen what the Arsenal looks like a few months back, I had to tour the Arsenal stadium, the Emirates Stadium here in London, and the grass is kept. So much attention is put to grass nowadays, but back in those days, a really rough patch in this major, I guess it's Dodgers Stadium in Los Angeles. I'm not quite sure. It's not clear, but it's a big stadium. Absolutely tens of thousands of people shown in the crowds. So it's a huge sporting event. And then there's this ramshackle pitch. And I'm I don't really follow any sport very much. Maybe Tour de France a little bit. Tour de France fams, if anything, nowadays. um, and uh, maybe the Lionesses, but I don't really know what's much about sport. But and so I was almost put off watching this because of that. But it was such an entertaining film. There's there's a feel of Faulty Towers. I mean, the characters they dress like that. So the men in particular, the way they look, it looks so 70s, and I don't know, it looks so dowdy in a way. I don't know I mean, and and also the women often wearing grey and brown. I don't think everyone was in the 70s, but there probably was more of a style of doing that. Um, I mean, people do sometimes refer to the 70s as a brown decade, but um, there's a lot of colour in that decade from what I've seen. I've seen a lot of the music videos, and I remember the time. I lived through it. But what I really like about this is um, women have a fighting spirit against. I mean, it's very uh, as a world very dominated by men, and yet you could see those early signs of um, the fight. Fight for feminism, and I love the understated nature of how Mr. Farnsworth's success in American football seemed to work. I mean, one of as he goes into the change room, gets a kind of cola. Um, Someone asked him, Mr. Farnsworth, did you play any college ball? He says, no, played a little polo. Um, and like the couple who are plotting murders, they make his four-poster bed collapse. I mean, there's a lot of internalized misogyny as well, but um, there's what was it like the environmental theme, the rom-com, this organization's called Exo Grey. Um, well, it was just a huge romp of a comedy and drama and romantic comedy drama, I would say. Now, it's good. I like it because there's a millionaire character who has a lot more compassion than most. I thought most wealthy people. I mean, there are the patriotic billionaires in real life, and that's brilliant. But all too many wealthy people seem to simply want to get even richer to protect their assets, not to look after the community, not to look after the people. So this felt like really lovely, and anyone with a million ought to be like sharing it a bit, surely. Now, I found that one strange thing was a sort of Cluedo-like set, like when there is a murder scene, everyone's in the room being questioned by a detective. I mean, I'd have thought everyone would be in separate rooms, but it's all out in the open in front of everyone else in the room. So there were a few things like that caused me to raise an eyebrow. Um, the thing, I felt pretty tearful when I suppose it's the fact that uh, when there's something happens, and I won't explain it in too much detail, but when something happens where the control you have in your life, you build up your life in whatever way you want to, but then when someone else tries to wrestle away the control, that's what's really upsetting, and that got me feeling tearful. And the romance as well. I think it shows I'm fairly I'm not Arrow, I am Ace, but I seem to like romantic dramas a lot, and this one is up there. It's going to score 9 out of 10 because it really appealed. I mean, I don't think I've seen many 1978 films recently. Don't think I've reviewed any or many, but I think it's an interesting era. I mean, it's so far back that so much has changed in the world, and yet, there's a lot you can relate to as well. I found it was great. I really, um, found it great to see Julie Christie and Warren Beatty and some of the other characters. So, 9 out of 10. I'd love to know what you think about this film. Um, if you like this review, please hit the like. Thanks. If you subscribe, please hit the notification button, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.